Stardew Valley. For many who haven't played it, you'd be excused for thinking that Stardew is just a Farmville clone meant only for girlfriends and mums. I know I did when I first saw it. Deep down though, Stardew is an incredibly detailed farming sim, full of great characters, moving storylines, and a near endless supply of things to do. Back in 2017, what was supposed to be a weekend of Destiny and Halo at a friend's house turned into 3 fully grown men playing Stardew Valley for 3 days straight. 6 years and 150 hours of gameplay later, I'd finally achieved every achievement on the Xbox One version of Stardew. Months later, and craving a relaxing game that I could sink my teeth into for an extended period of time, I decided to play the Windows stack of Stardew, aiming to once again obtain every single achievement in the game, and I thought this time I'd bring you guys along for the ride. After meticulously creating the perfect farmer and farm, I had to make a plan for the game itself. Certain items only appear during set seasons, and you can end up buried in a mountain of spreadsheets trying to keep track of everything. Whilst I did attempt to be slightly efficient playing this, I'm not going to bore you with all those spreadsheets, so instead I've made a simple checklist for us to work towards. There's a whole lot to digest here, and we'll go into more detail in the future, but the general goal is pretty simple. Farm, collect, fish, cook, sell and craft almost everything. Make way more friends than I'd ever have the patience to do in real life. Kill way too many enemies, and get filthy stinking rich. The game begins with us inheriting our granddad's old farm.
Oh, piss. I'll skip Granddad's intro.
After being greeted by a few of the locals, we set to work planting our first few seeds we've been given and talking to everyone in sight.
Hello.
Interacting with the community is crucial in Stardew. Your friendship level is denoted by a heart rating, and improving this enables you to get married, have kids, and unlock certain stories and recipes which are tied to achievements. You can improve the relationship with someone by either talking to them daily or giving them gifts they like or love. You can lose hearts by not interacting with people, giving them gifts they dislike or hate, or rummaging through bins. Makes sense, I guess. Gifting an individual on their birthday results in an 8-time gain or loss of hearts depending on the type of gift given. This is probably a good time to explain the way that skills work in this game as well, so I'm going to let this recording of me from a whole year ago take it away.
So one of the skills is foraging. Where are the skills? So here you go. So there's 5 types of skills. Farming is obviously from growing stuff. Mining, there is like a set of mines you can go in, and it's mining the resources in there. Foraging is stuff like cutting down trees, picking up food off the floor, things like that. Fishing, obviously just using a fishing rod and fishing stuff. Combat is any type of fighting enemies, so we need to try and make sure we get all of these to 10. When you hit level 5, you get like an ability for each of them, which is, you know, it kind of improves your gameplay, and you get another one at level 10. But the sooner I can get this, the better. It's achievement related and other things as well.
After a full day of attempting to be social, we headed to bed. The next few days continued in a similar fashion, talking to everyone, tending to our crops every morning, and then fishing with any time we had left over. Now unfortunately, at the start of the game you don't have much money or energy, so you can't actually get too much done each day. Energy is denoted by this bar on the bottom right of the screen, and you can replenish it by eating food. Now once again, early game, we don't have much food, so we can't replenish it very easily. You can also permanently upgrade your energy bar, but this requires star drops, and we can't currently fulfill the requirements for them. At the end of the 3rd day we got our very first level up in fishing, and we also sold our first few fish to get our first earnings. We popped our very first achievement at the end of day 4 for catching 10 different types of fish. Now unfortunately on Windows games it doesn't properly pop up the achievements in the recording, so I'll just add an achievement overlay somewhere for each one.
Oh! I got a halibut and I got a fisherman. Catch 10 different fish. Does that not show on the game? I don't know if that showed up in the game. I just got my first achievement there.
Day 4 ended with us getting multiple fishing levels and our first decent pay packet, and we were rewarded on day 5 with both a dog and our first proper harvest of vegetables.
Oh my god, my first nips are ready to harvest. My first nips are ready, let's go. Ooh, so the mine is accessible. Our first nips have grown. Oh, it's all heating up now. Spicy.
Relationship building was going pretty slowly, but my collection of crops was growing at an ever steady rate. We dropped acid with the wizard to unlock the community centre and dug up our first worms for an artefact on our way there. Artefacts are linked to achievements and are donated to the museum, whilst the community centre is restored by donating certain items. This unlocks things like the minecarts to travel, the bus to get to the desert, and most importantly, after everything is said and done, an achievement.
And that should be... There we go, so that's our very first bundle complete.
We got our first recipe from Queen of the Sauce here, which is a TV show which gives you recipes on certain days of the year, and then we head to the museum. After a rather depressing cutscene with Gunther, we finally donate our first few artifacts, and as you can see there's a lot of empty spaces for us to fill in. Another cutscene appears in the mines of Marlin shortly afterwards, and we take our very first trip down into the mines. The mines are incredibly useful. They provide resources we need to craft items and upgrade our tools, monsters to kill for the Adventurers Guild, and a few species of fish can only spawn here. You can also get various geodes from the mine which can be cracked open for minerals which you can then in turn donate to the museum. We also need to reach the very bottom of the mine because this has its own achievement tied to it. Our days carried on in a similar fashion for a while, sourcing our crops every morning and splitting up the rest of our time between fishing, mining, and very occasionally remembering to talk to people and give them presents.
You're very welcome.
I visit the Adventurers Guild a short while later to check out our progress. We need to make sure we finish all of the Slayer goals for an achievement, which essentially requires us to kill a large amount of different monsters. For the most part this will come passively during our journey into the mines, but we will have to grind a bit later on. I then got this sewer cutscene which mentioned that Gunther might have a key for us. Now I do need to access the sewers as well to get a few certain fish and also a star drop, but I'll need to collect a lot more different artifacts before I'm able to actually receive the key. On the 12th of spring we encounter our first crow. Crows can appear randomly and eat your crops if you don't have a scarecrow placed. Now this was technically my fault, but I was very unhappy to say the least.
Rain. Fuck. You can fuck off.
We snagged our first book from a mystery chest whilst fishing. Now you can obtain certain artifacts from chests whilst fishing, and it's always worth targeting them whenever possible.
Ooh, we'll take that.
Our first very big harvest of crops grew on Spring 13, and I had to really bite my tongue here because once again there was another crow lurking in the corner.
Oh my god, I got loads of shit.
Spring 13 marked the day of the Egg Festival. There are special events on set days throughout the year on Stardew, and I made sure to write this date in my notes. It may be one of the most important because it sells strawberry seeds, which is a super lucrative early game summer crop. Now unfortunately, despite writing it down in my notes, I proceeded to spend all of my money the day before because I am nothing short of completely stupid.
Strawberry seeds, that's what I need. I've got no money for it. Fuck! Fuck.
With the amount of loot I collected continuing to grow, I finally had to accept that I should probably sort out all of my chests of loot rather than being stubborn and searching through 20 chests every time I needed something.
I forgot. I really need these, and I've sold all my stuff today, so I won't have money till tomorrow. Ooh. That is a real shame.
Despite taking a huge L on these strawberry seeds, I did take the dub in this egg hunt, beating a ton of little kids and getting a lovely hat as a reward.
Yes! Fuck you!
A few short days later, Morris, the Jojo Mart owner, appeared at Pierre's one day whilst I was shopping for seeds. The Jojo Mart is a shop which aims to take over Stardew. Now you have the option of either completing the community centre bundles and restoring it, or you can side with Jojo, donate a ton of money to them and get the same unlocks.
We'll stay loyal.
Spring continues with Linus getting caught rummaging through bins, and for some reason he gets left off the hook. Why don't I get that same treatment? We contribute a bunch more stuff to both the community centre and the museum, making a great bit of progress.
Shit. I've been eating my golden nips that I need. I'm gonna have to grow more. Fuck.
I hit level 5 farming and level 5 fishing in relatively quick succession, unlocking my very first 2 professions for the skills. I also finally unlock another 2 achievements, Mother Catch, which is for catching 100 fish, and Greenhorn, which is for earning my first 15,000 gold. Now remember, we need 10 million, so we are so far from the end. The parsnips I stupidly ate previously had finally regrown at this point, so I harvest them and make sure to actually keep hold of them this time. I was rewarded for my efforts here, managing to luck out and get a dinosaur egg from a fishing chest just 10 minutes later. Now to put this into perspective, a dinosaur egg was my very last artifact on the Xbox version, and it took me an entire extra year of gameplay just to obtain it.
Oh my god, I've got a fucking dinosaur egg already. Took me like 4 years of my main save. Oh my god, I was farming dinos. Yes!
We get a new personal best on the daily haul of money at this point, getting a mind-boggling 4,000 gold. I spent some of this gold to purchase a rare crow for 2.5 grand shortly afterwards. Now, at the time this was a big chunk of my cash, but you need to collect all 8 of these unique scarecrows for a crafting recipe down the line. Demetrius turns up on our farm at this point, and he gave us the option of turning this dormant cave we had in the farm into either a fruit cave or a mushroom cave. Now I chose a fruit cave because there's a lot of community centre related items you can get from this. We snag both the backpack upgrades after this, just before the season ends. This increases our inventory from 12 slots to 36 for just 12,000 gold. I was struggling for absolutely days with a small inventory, and I could have purchased this ages before, but I didn't realise it was a thing at the time. I completely forgot. We sold another batch of crops here for a total of 7,000 gold, so we're really starting to increase what we're yielding every single time. At this point in time it's the very last day of spring, so I show my ending skills here along with my friendship stats. Now we've made a pretty decent start for the first season, but we have so much more work to do. Summer started in a very similar way to spring. I stocked up on as many summer seeds as I could early on and got them in the ground straight away. With the new season we also got the opportunity to donate a bunch of new items to the community centre. I stumbled into the travelling merchant around this time, completely forgetting that he actually exists. He visits twice a week on Friday and Sunday, and he can sell useful items out of season. We luck out here, getting both a rare seed and more importantly an ancient seed. Now an ancient seed can be used down the line to make ancient wine, which is our best moneymaker. The best other way to get this ancient seed is by digging up worms, and this was way faster, so I was very happy. I unlocked another achievement shortly afterwards, and unsurprisingly once again it's fishing related, this time unlocking Old Mariner for catching 24 different types of fish. I was starting to get slightly too confident during this point in the game, and I died for the first time. I lost a bit of cash, which wasn't too bad, but I also lost an artifact which for some reason I'd kept in my inventory rather than just donating it straight away. Not deterred by this, we carried on working, made a bit more money, and got our next money related achievement, Cowpoke, for earning 50,000 gold. Another event rolled around, and this time it was the luau. A big soup is being made during the luau, and everyone gets to contribute their own ingredient to it. Now I use a wiki to donate the best ingredient possible, which gains you a bunch of friendship points with all of the individuals at the party. We then got a steel axe upgrade from the blacksmith. Tools can be upgraded to stronger versions using ores, and the steel axe is particularly useful. Once you obtain it, you can chop down the large log blocking the entrance to the secret forest. So we go ahead and do just that and gain access to another few new items. Community bundles continue progressing, and we sell our very first batch of blueberries for a big chunk of change. Blueberries are a summer crop, and they are particularly lucrative, gaining you a fortune in the early game. As we continue farming and selling blueberries, we eventually pop the monoculture achievement, which is for shipping 300 of one type of crop. The last part of summer contains an absolute mountain of progress. We got Demetrius a birthday gift and received a recipe in the mail from him in return for hitting a certain relationship master. We flew through the rest of the mines, getting a good weapon on floor 90, our very first star drop on floor 100, which extends our energy bar, then we got the achievement once we hit the level 120. We finally had the resources to make a bunch of sprinklers. This is super useful because it means that you don't have to expend both time and energy manually watering your crops every morning. We also then reached level 10 in our very first skill, and it should come as no surprise that once again it was fishing. I've been hoarding a bunch of geodes and mining resources, so I cracked open the geodes and donated everything I possibly could to the museum. This put us very close to our next achievement, which is for donating 40 items to the museum, and we obtained that a few minutes later. I built my very first farm building at this point in time, which was a coop. You need these buildings to keep animals on the farm, and they give you certain resources that you need for both recipes and to ship for certain achievements as well. As I started hoarding my money, I also spent a bit of time buying the best fishing rod I could from Willie at this point. Whilst I was there, I also repaired the bridge on the beach, which unlocked a certain fishing spot I could use to catch my first legendary fish. There are a total of 5 of these in the game, and you need all of them for a certain achievement. I also managed to finish my 10th Help Wanted quest, which are essentially short fetch quests for different characters in Stardew. I need 40 of these in total for a second achievement, which is going to take a while, but we're slowly getting there. Summer was drawing to a close, but the merchant blessed me once again with a few more useful items. I then unlocked the bus at this point through community centre progress and used it to make my first trip to the desert. The desert has a whole bunch of good things, the skull cavern, a few useful shops, and some other goodies too. I'd also been holding off on crafting any items, but I finally bit the bullet and used my copious amount of resources to craft some things. I got 2 achievements here, one for crafting 15 and one for crafting 30 different items, and I also crafted some tappers. Tappers can be attached to different types of tree for different resources, and I need oak resin in particular to craft kegs. Kegs will be used down the line to store my ancient fruit, which in turn will make me wine. I made one final push for community centre progress and got my very first friendship achievement here just before summer ended. Contrary to what the description of the achievement actually says, this was just for achieving a 5-heart friendship rating with a single individual. I popped into the pub and bought some recipes from Gus on the final day of the season, and with that, summer came came to an end. Now, we're only halfway through our first year at this point, but I was already on over 17 hours played with very little overall progress. Same story as always here. We start by planting a brand new batch of seeds and get to work. We've now unlocked the community board. This is a board where members of the community list jobs they need done. They are much harder than traditional help wanted jobs, but certain jobs on these boards are tied to recipes, so I need to make sure that I'm actively working on them at all times. As with every season, I flew through a whole host of new community centre contributions, taking a few minutes to catch another legendary fish along the way as well. We visit the Stardew Valley fair, where you can win and lose points by playing the games on show. I gambled my way to 1000 points in hopes of purchasing the star drop available at the fair, just to realise it actually cost over 2000. What followed was me losing my points and my head for about 10 minutes straight before finally accumulating the points I needed. I also stocked up on chickens around this time for my coop, as I needed to get a load of eggs for different recipes, and the game decided to auto-assign one of them a very sus name here. I upgraded my house for the first time, unlocking another achievement before catching an eel and finishing the very last fishing bundles I needed. I spent some more time in the mines here at the end of autumn, finishing one of the Adventure Guild goals before hitting level 10 farming just as the season was drawing to a close. Moving on to our first winter, and unfortunately at the start of the game, this is a really boring time. You can't grow any crops outside, and as I don't have a greenhouse unlocked yet, it means I have to find other ways to occupy my time. I started off by catching the winter legendary fish, and I also gathered all of the winter foraging items, completing some more bundles. I spent a good deal of time in the mine during this first winter trying to finish Adventure Guild goals, and I made a really good amount of progress here. It wasn't without some pain though, as I suffered another completely avoidable and incredibly painful death along the way. Oh, cunt. That's 469 iron ore. I finally obtained the rusty key through my contributions to the museum, unlocking the sewer. This is a really great milestone, as our good friend Krobus is in the sewer, and his shop sells a bunch of good stuff. A star drop, and one of the best sprinklers in the game, the Iridium Sprinkler. We knock out 2 more achievements before the year comes to an end, Homesteader for earning 250k gold, and clicks for reaching a 5 heart friend level with 4 different people. I'll pop a quick little look at the progress on screen here. I was really atrocious at remembering to both talk to and give people things, but the money is really starting to come in, and my skills are nearly maxed. Not very bad year 1, I'm quite happy with it. Pulling up our checklist, we're unfortunately yet to take anything off. We're close to hitting level 10 in all skills, but the rest of the goals are definitely still a while from being accomplished. As we moved into year 2, our focus changed slightly. Most bundles were already nearing completion, so I spent most of spring doing seasonal things I might have missed in year 1 and working on leveling up both my combat and my mining. I got a bunch of seeds planted and then I headed to the mines, hoping to get level 10 in both combat and mining, and a number of the Adventure Guild goals done at the same time. I completed both the slime and the skeleton monster goals here during spring, also hitting level 10 combat and mining. I caught a mutant carp, which is another one of the legendary fish now that I had the sewers unlocked, and I also purchased the star drop from Krobus once I had enough money. I attended the flower dance this year and chose to dance with Maru. This increased my friendship rating with her, and I got to the point that I was able to make her my girlfriend. I bought a bouquet and I gave it to her, she accepted, and we made things official. We finished our spring by placing our dinosaur egg into an incubator. Once it's hatched, I'd actually have a never-ending supply of dinosaur eggs, and it'd be a good bit of money on the side too. Summer started with an achievement for reaching a 10 heart friendship with someone. Now, I got this with Pam because she loves beer and she hangs out right by my house. Sounds a bit weird, but it works. I finished what I thought was my last Adventure Guild goal here, but I was wondering why the achievement didn't pop. I headed to the Adventure Guild itself and realised there was an entire second page with loads of way more difficult enemies to kill. This really did pain me to no end. I thought it was done, but there's 4 new ones and I don't know what they are. Oh my god. Our rare seed we bought from the merchant had finally grown at this point, and the reason this was so exciting to purchase was because it actually gives you another star drop. I can't remember quite when I unlocked the greenhouse, but I was putting it to good use here growing strawberries. My single ancient fruit had finally grown in here as well, so I was slowly moving towards making my full wine farm. Achievements were flying in too, with achievements unlocked for getting a 5 heart friend level with 10 people, and shortly after 20 people, along with upgrading my house to the maximum size and reaching level 10 with every skill. That means that we have finally got a tick on our checklist. I upgraded my weapon so I could take on the skull cavern, which is essentially a more difficult version of the mines down in the desert. My dinosaur hatched, and to top it off, I proposed to Maru, got married, and I got another star drop from marrying her. With summer going so well, surely it would be impossible to match that in autumn, right? Wrong. We find out we're expecting a baby who arrives shortly afterwards. Now we need 2 of these for an achievement, so that is about halfway there. I obtained a final few minerals from the museum, leaving just a few more artifacts to obtain. I reached a 10 heart friend level with 8 people, which is the final relationship achievement in the game. The community centre is finally completed, rewarding me with the juicy achievement for my troubles. Another weapon upgrade is obtained, which I used to complete a couple more Adventure Guild challenges. We get a cutscene with Willy here, which means we can now unlock his boat to visit Ginger Island. This is an addition to the base game, and we have to do a load of stuff on Ginger Island for certain achievements, so I need to make sure that I repair the boat as quickly as I can. As if enough progress hadn't already been made this season, I also popped the Millionaire achievement for earning my first million gold just before the season ends. Year 2 is almost at an end, and we're officially starting to reach the end game. I get my first new artifact in what feels like an absolute decade and and catch a few new fish to start off with. By this point in time, I'd finally reached the full greenhouse of ancient fruit. This meant I could now start churning out wine for money without much effort required. Willie's boat was finally repaired and I headed off to Ginger Island for the first time, and I attained my first golden walnut here. The golden walnuts are a collectible on Ginger Island and they can be found through quests, looting, farming, puzzles and a bunch of other ways. I need to collect 100 of these to be able to obtain some endgame recipes from a shop, so this will take up most of my focus at this point. I finally hit 40 help wanted quests and popped the corresponding achievement before dying on Ginger Island and losing 30 diamonds. I have to admit, that one hurt. That just about rounds off my second year, so I pop up another summary on screen. I'm at a point where all I really need is a couple of fish, a couple of artifacts and a couple of ingredients. I also haven't cooked any recipes yet, but I've been saving up my ingredients for the last 2 years in preparation for this. Popping up my checklist again, we've now ticked off a little bit extra, but we still have loads more things to tick off. Now fortunately, because I am quite close to the end of the game, I am very close to a lot of these, so it shouldn't take much more effort to tick off most of them. Now we're at the very end of the game and things are getting quite repetitive. I'm relying more and more on luck just to obtain the things I still need. Ginger Island still remains my primary focus to begin with, obtaining any and all golden walnuts I possibly can. All of spring was spent doing puzzles and grinding and hunting for things, and I did finally reach the 100 walnuts I need. I needed 2 more artifacts to complete the collection, and I could guarantee that I could get one of these by finding a specific hidden note. These hidden notes are a random drop I can get, and if you get certain maps, you can go to the location on the map and get an item. I eventually got this specific note, and upon going to dig up the artifact, I literally luck out and find the other artifact 10 seconds beforehand. It's just absolutely ridiculous luck.
Wait a sec, I'm about to get my phone. Holy shit.
I donate these final 2 artifacts to the museum, obtaining an achievement for completing the collection, and I'm also rewarded with another star drop for my troubles. I get a bit impatient here. I was going to save up all the ingredients and cook every single recipe at once, but I just use what I've got at the time, and I end up popping 2 achievements here, one for cooking 10 recipes and one for cooking 25. I also tick off the last of the Adventure Guild goals and catch a couple more new fish. We now had 5 items ticked off the checklist, and almost everything left relied on grinding out recipes. We popped our next 2 achievements, Polyculture for shipping 15 of each crop, and Full House for getting married and having 2 kids. I checked the in-game perfection tracker at this point and you can see just how close we're getting. Produce and forage shipped is at 93%, fish caught is at 98%, cooking recipes is at 86%, and crafting recipes is at 82%. I made my first proper big sale here, bringing in just over 2 million gold in one go. I did spend basically all of this on a return scepter, which I can use to teleport straight back to my farm. I caught my last 2 fish, the octopus and then the legend. The legend is the trickiest legendary fish to catch, and I actually had way more issues catching this than I did on the Xbox. This resulted in a very hard-earned achievement popping, and the next morning I received a star drop as a reward for catching all fish, a second achievement, and just like that, 2 more things were ticked off of the checklist. I bought a couple of items here to automate caring for my animals because they all absolutely hated me and they weren't giving me the resources I needed. After accidentally eating a void mayo, I finally get the last animal resources I need and ship them off, earning myself the full shipment achievement for shipping every item. Next we finally got all of our cooking recipes. Bruschetta, mango sticky rice, and the super meal were all unlocked through friendship goals, whilst I had to purchase the tropical curry recipe from Ginger Island. After gathering my missing recipes, I then popped this achievement too. Next on the list was 10 million gold. We've been actively working on making wines this entire time, earning a bunch of big paychecks before finally popping the achievement after a whole lot of grinding. The final achievement on the list was for crafting every item, and getting these recipes was definitely the hardest part of all. I had to complete some very tough missions to earn currency to purchase some of these from the key shop, such as completing hard mode mines. I had to pray to RNG for what seemed like an absolute eternity, just hoping I could get one certain drop to finish the island field office collection. And I finally had to unlock the casino and waste what seemed like way too much on key coins just to purchase the last rare crow for my final recipe. With all of this done, I crafted my last few items and popped the craft master achievement. Despite our checklist now being complete, we still had 3 more achievements to mop up. The first 2 achievements I needed were tied to Journey of the Prairie King. You must complete this minigame within Stardew flawlessly to net what was once a very notorious achievement. The reason this was so difficult is one touch from an enemy or any kind of bad RNG on drops could ruin an entire run. I did do this legit on the Xbox and it caused me a huge amount of pain and suffering. They changed this achievement a bit years ago and made it so that you can essentially save after every level and retry anytime you die, and I have to admit that that is exactly what I did on this run, just to maintain my sanity. Now I do have plans in the future to release the original video, but that won't come quite yet. Finally, I had to start up a new playthrough and side with Jojico this time, purchasing all of the community development perks and letting the community centre fall into ruin. 140,000 gold is required for this, which obviously takes quite a long time to get in the early game, but you can load up a game in split screen, duplicate your money, earning this achievement in about 30 minutes. I did just this because after all of the grinding, the last thing I wanted to do was to spend some time on a run where I had to side with Jojico. This was a bit anticlimactic as the achievement never actually popped and it just unlocked silently, but we were finally done with our Stardew grind.
Right, so I had a cutscene which
was popping up, but the achievement didn't pop. And now suddenly I've got the achievement. So the game is done. I just duped to 500k to try and get the other upgrade. But I guess it works. So that is Stardew done. I had an absolute blast playing this game. Despite how long it takes, it is super chill and relaxing, and there'll always be a special place in my heart for this game. My main run clocked in at just over 113 hours, but my original run on the Xbox was closer to 150. This is because I didn't have any prior knowledge at the time. Now, it is quite a lot, but if you haven't played it, I strongly recommend you give it a go, even if it's on an old account. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.